There is so much burning trash on the waiver wire right now, and we have championships to be winning. We cannot mess this week up. Lucky for you guys, this is the only video in the entirety of YouTube that you're going to need, because I'll be going over all the traps on the waiver wire that you need to be avoiding. Let your league mates pick them up and make the mistake. We need to be winning championships. These guys will not help you to do that. So let's get right into it. If you are feeling generous, go ahead and drop a like on this video, and make sure to stick around to the end, because I will be giving you guys a list of players that are safe to drop if you are considering them. If you want to pick up players, drop players, whatever. But the first player we cannot be adding on the waiver wire, I keep seeing him getting more hype every couple weeks, whatever. Do not pick up DeVante Parker. And I guess I can get where this is coming from. Juju has the chance to miss this week again, but that's really the only upside you can attach to his name. Nothing else about him excites me at all. And I'll make the reasoning pretty quick, because it should be obvious. Outside of the fact that this offense is just straight donkey cheeks, they are 15th in passing attempts, but they are 29th in passing yards. That is not good. That is not efficient, and it pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Bailey Zappi just does not have the pass volume to make any of these wide receivers viable. There is no upside or even a chance to have like a really good game because of how low his passing volume is. I don't want anything to do with it. In a perfect world, we wouldn't be starting any of these pass catchers, even Douglas and Hunter Henry. I'd hope your team is better than that to have to deal with these guys. Yes, he is seeing field time. He had 91% of the snaps last week. That's his third highest on the season, and he's been averaging about 6 targets over his past 3 games. I guess that's okay, but I really don't want anything to do with it because we've had Demario Douglas out in that stretch. The Patriots are consistently projected for one of the lowest scoring totals of the week. Again, no upside here, so there's really not even a floor. Go ahead and use your bench for the fantasy playoffs on guys that can actually have value. Maybe they're projected for a little bit lower of points, but they're going to be better as far as upside goes. Maybe they're handcuff running backs. Maybe they're other guys. Who knows? But if you guys do want a list of the top waiver wire ads that could actually single-handedly win you a week by themselves, I'll pin a video up here. I just posted a video of the top waiver ads of the week yesterday. It has timestamps throughout the whole thing, so it'll literally take 2 seconds to watch. Go ahead and watch it after this video whenever you're done. Fine by me. But we don't need to be wasting our time on Clyde Edwards-Helaire either, and this is for a bit of a different reason. Everybody is rushing to get him off the waiver wire after he just dropped a 20 piece on the Patriots, playing his highest snap percentage of the season at 62, and now he's coming into a matchup against the Raiders, which should be a really run heavy script. They are one of the worst defenses as far as allowing fantasy points to running backs every week go. The Chiefs are projected to win this game by a touchdown. It should be a run heavy script from the beginning, on top of the fact that the Raiders run defense is already terrible. Seems great, right? But the reality of it is CEH is going to take a back seat. Isaiah Pacheco will most likely play this week. It hasn't been confirmed at the time of the recording of this video, but it's more than likely he's going to be playing, and that puts CEH in the back seat behind him, obviously. But I think even if he does come back and is at some kind of limited capacity, Jerick McKinnon will probably take a majority of the second RB role, because he gets involved in the third downs in the receiving role. That's probably going to be more of what they want when they're going to have to be supplementing in with Isaiah Pacheco, but that's even in the case that he is coming back a little bit banged up and injured and not a full snap count. CEH did leave in receptions out of the backfield last week. Jerick McKinnon still ran more routes even if he finished with less catches. But if you want the security, you can go ahead and grab him. It's going to be a 60-40 split between CEH and McKinnon for the rest of the time that Pacheco is out, if he does happen to miss this week again. He is still going to be a riskier start because this backfield is split. Yes, it's the Chiefs and they have a good offense, but I don't want you guys going out and spending all of the fab you have left on an RB2 that could possibly end up being the RB1, RB2. Again, it depends on Pacheco's status, because we can use that fab on actual league winning guys. Again, that video is pinned up at the top if you guys do want to check it out, and make sure to comment anything you have, any questions you got, start sits, whatever it is, while you're watching this video, and I'll get to them all after this video is posted. You guys know I always do. But I've seen a lot of people pour some interest into Dontayvion Wicks, and I really don't understand this. From the outside looking in, I guess I can see how it is somewhat interesting. Christian Watson is dealing with an injury like he has been for the entirety of the season, and now we have Jaden Reed going down with a toe injury. It doesn't seem that serious. He is at jeopardy of missing this week, but in all seriousness, we're probably going to get at least one of those wide receivers back in this matchup, and we still have Romeo Doubs fully healthy and Tucker Kraft fully healthy, 2 guys that are averaging about 5-6 targets a game. Wicks did have a career high game last week with 6 receptions for 97 yards, almost 100. Would have been nice to see, but that was against the Buccaneers defense, who allowed the second most points to opposing wide receivers. They're an absolute pass funnel, and he took advantage of that. He did good. But this week you get the complete opposite of that against the Panthers, who are one of the toughest pass defenses. Is this because they are a complete run funnel and their run defense is one of the worst in the NFL? Partly, but also their pass defense, their corners, their secondary is pretty decent. They allowed the 5th least points to opposing wide receivers this year. And if you look at last week, they held Drake London to only 24 receptions. Is that one data point depictive of the entire season? No, but they haven't allowed a lot of points to the wide receivers. It's just a statistical fact of what we've seen so far this year, and I'm not trusting a 3rd, maybe even 4th string wide receiver to get us to a fantasy playoff championship. There is a possibility that these injuries do clear up by Sunday's game. There's a possibility that they don't clear up, and Wicks is the wide receiver too. Either way, Romeo Doubs and Tucker Kraft, maybe even Aaron Jones, is going to be ahead of him in the target competition, target share, whatever you want to call it. But depending on your league size, I've seen some people dig very deep down for Darius Slayton. If you have even considered it, if you have even one thought in your brain, take it out, do not add him. Just please do me a favor. Surprisingly enough, I've seen other fantasy creators talk about picking him up this week. Guys, we are making the fantasy championship. For some people, this is even the championship round this week. Get anybody with a Giants logo attached to their name off of your fantasy roster and just do not deal with the headache, maybe outside of Saquon Barkley. But this offense, this team in general, just cannot get it done, and I don't want to trust it. But some people might be, because the Giants get a matchup against the Eagles this week, who are one of the more pass-friendly teams in the NFL. There also is a chance that Darius Slayton does not play this week again. At the time of this recording, he is not ruled in, but the Eagles are allowing top 6 points to opposing wide receivers this year. But this is one of those situations where you can't just look at the matchup and blindly trust your guys and hope they do good. You can't trust this team to move the ball down the field, get any kind of offense going, score any kind of touchdowns. Yes, DeVito is going to play. He is healthy. He got a little bit knocked up last week against the New Orleans Saints, but this team is still 29th in pass attempts. They're bottom 5 in almost every single offensive metric. It's not any kind of opportunity that we're not getting somewhere else. With that being said, Darius Slayton is the wide receiver 1. He got a season high in targets with 8. He does look like he has some kind of value with DeVito and the whole thing going on with him, but he's still just not viable. You have to be realistic with this offense. We have Waller coming back. There's a whole bunch of scenarios where other wide receivers could get involved. You could make a case where Wan'Dale Robinson is the wide receiver 1. But as I was doing my research, one guy that I actually was considering putting into it until I actually looked into the stats and looked into the scenario, just opened my eyes here, is Trey Sermon. You really don't need to be adding him to your starting lineup. I know he's a popular name this week and probably is going to be one of the top waiver ads. We all know that Zach Moss went down with an injury halfway through this game. It looks like he's going to be able to play next week. If he's not, it doesn't look like Jonathan Taylor is going to be able to play either. There's a whole bunch of running back uncertainty here, and we really don't know who's going to play this week in week 16. Either way, let's say both of those guys are out. Let's give Trey Sermon the benefit of the doubt. This Colts team still does like to run the ball, and he still got usage. He got a good amount of usage, 17 carries, 88 yards. We also saw Tyler Goodson get used in this offense, 11 carries, 469 yards. They were both somewhat viable and actually efficient in this offense against the Steelers' run defense. But that kind of ties into the reason why we don't need to be adding Trey Sermon. Do I think he's going to be the RB1 again in our hypothetical situation where none of these other running backs are healthy? Yes, he will. But Tyler Goodson has proved to get a little bit of this work behind him. It'll probably be about a 60-40, maybe even 70-30 split between the two. But if we look at the receiving work, and none of them really got that good of volume, it looks like Tyler Goodson is going to be the main receiving back. Again, kind of hurting Trey Sermon. This is usually what we see when we see running backs go out. It turns to a committee backfield, and I don't want anything to do with those guys when they get a matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, who are bottom 5 in points allowed to running backs this year. They're very, very tough against the run. This Colts team is one of the more fast-paced in the league. They like to pass, but they also have a dynamic run game as well. I really don't want anything to do with these running backs, though, in a split committee backfield with the Atlanta defense that they're going against. There's other guys you can go ahead and pick up and trust. Either way, you're probably not going to be starting them in the matchup to get you to the fantasy playoffs, or even if this is your fantasy playoffs, just leave them on the waivers. Let everybody take their fab and dump it all on them, or whatever kind of waiver priority you guys play with. Now is the time where you need to be filling your roster with high upside guys. Maybe that's a handcuff to your running back. You got Christian McCaffrey, you got Austin Eckler, you got Bijan. Get guys like Elijah Mitchell, Tyler Algier, maybe even Justice Hill. A little bit of a sneak peek into the waiver video that I posted yesterday if you haven't seen it. There's a whole bunch of guys that do have high upside you can pick up as safety blankets, or even to put you over the hump for the next week. And there's a whole bunch of defensive plays you can make on your bench as well. You can pick up a whole bunch of defenses, so if you're playing against a guy that likes to stream, he's not going to have any options. Maybe you pick up a bunch of quarterbacks because you're playing against a guy that streams quarterbacks and doesn't have a lot of options this week. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with your bench. Again, you can go watch the waiver wire video if you do need it, but for the guys that we can drop, there's a whole bunch. Miles Sanders, if you haven't dropped him, you're a couple weeks late here. He's not getting any usage. He hasn't been getting any red zone carries. Chuba Hubbard is the clear-cut RB1. He was named that halfway through the season. There really is no reason you should be rostering him anymore. Surprisingly enough, Quentin Johnson can be dropped. Again, we've had him in a video a couple weeks ago. He was the wide receiver 1 or 2 behind Josh Palmer. There was no Keenan Allen. He still managed to do absolutely nothing with it. Was this game a throwaway? They lost by like 70 points. Yes, but still, he proved to really not have any kind of value. He keeps dropping passes. Get him off your roster. You don't want that kind of thing to infect the rest of your team like the Kadarius Toney effect has. But also, if you have or are considering adding Demarcus Robinson, don't go ahead and do it. Yes, he's been doing good over the past few weeks. He's had some great matchups, though. The Commanders' defense last week allowed some of the most points to opposing wide receivers. Number 1 to wide receivers and quarterbacks this year. We got to be realistic. Yes, the Rams are kind of making a push for the playoffs, but you have Cooper Kupp coming into his own. You have Puka Nacua getting a good amount of the targets. You have Kyron Kyrie Williams getting a whole bunch of run work and of receiving work out of the backfield. You got Tyler Higbee even getting some work. There's really no opportunities in this offense to get a consistent kind of target share. Unless you're in a super deep league like 20 people, there's no point to put him on your roster. Again, use those spots for high upside guys, play some defense, do whatever you want to do. Obviously, we're going to be going through and getting rid of all the guys that do have injuries to make space on our bench. The Mark Andrews, he's out for the season, confirmed. He doesn't need to clog a spot left on your roster. All the quarterbacks that have been injured, the Deshaun Watsons, the Joe Burrows, everybody else, if you still got him on your roster, clean up. You also don't need to be rostering Tyler Higbee, another guy that's kind of in the same situation. There's a lot of tight ends out there. There's some in the waiver wire pickup video that I just posted that are more valuable than him. We saw Davis Allen come in and be viable. They're kind of splitting snaps. Are they splitting usage? No, but still, there's a whole bunch of opportunity in this offense for so many other wide receivers. He's going to take a back seat. I'm not trusting Tyler Higbee on a week-to-week basis. But that should finish off this video. Try to make it quick for you guys this week. If you did enjoy, make sure to let me know in the comments. I seriously appreciate you guys rocking with me for the entirety of the season. I will be posting throughout the offseason as well. And you guys already know when the draft season comes back around next year, I'm going to absolutely go crazy like we did this year. Seriously appreciate everybody that's watching these videos. You guys make the world go round. See you guys in the next video coming soon.